Assalamu alaikum. I'm Namuna Sayed and I'm your science teacher. How are you all? I hope you all are fine and you're having very good time. So this is your science book, Science 2, Oxford Secondary Science, and the unit we are going to learn, the unit 2, respiration and energy from food. Topics under discussion are respiratory diseases and smoking tobacco. Here, let's recall the previous lesson. So if you remember, in our previous class, we have talked about respiration and the types, and that is the anaerobic respiration and aerobic respirations. Then we discussed about the parts of the human respiratory system. Further, we discussed the difference between breathing and respiration. And finally, the process of breathing and the different system of respiratory system. So here are the learning objectives for today's class, that is respiratory diseases and smoking tobacco. That is the big trouble for everyone nowadays, that tobacco is causing lung cancer. Wow, so here is a warm-up activity for all of you. So if you remember our previous lesson, then who is going to tell me that what are the main external openings for the respiratory system? Any volunteer? Yes, you're right. Nose and the nasal cavity are the external openings of the respiratory system. Okay, that's good. So here we come towards the main content of our today's lesson, that is the diseases of the human respiratory system. So the job of our lungs on a pretty general level is to take blood that is without oxygen, which we call deoxygenated blood, to take that blood and put oxygen in it, and it comes out as oxygenated blood, which is the red blood, because generally the blood with lack of oxygen looks a bit darker. That's the reason when you can see different diagrams, the deoxygenated blood is showing with a blue color. Okay, so in nutshell, that's what the lungs do. They grab oxygen from the atmosphere and take carbon dioxide from the blood and just blow it out. Okay, so following are the respiratory diseases that include cough and colds, influenza or flu, asthma, and diseases due to smoking tobacco. All we will discuss about the cough and colds. So do you know, a cough is basically a sudden clearing of the air passage, but coughing together with sneezing and a blocked or runny nose are signs that you have a cold. Yes, and you know, are caused by viruses, and they give a sore throat and runny nose, and they enter the cells lining of the nose and the throat and causing them to break down. That's why you feel bad. You just, throat ache and you feel sore throat. That's the reason you feel sore throat. This gives you a sore throat and runny nose. So that's the reason we should cover our face. Not due to the current situation of COVID-19, apart from this pandemic, this it is really good precautionary measure just to cover your face when you go outside, because there are so many viruses in the environment that can invade through your nose and enter and destroy your lining inside the respiratory system. But as yet, there is no cure for a cold, but there are some medicines that can just relieve some of the effects of cold. But if you're healthy, and your body will quite quickly overcome the cold viruses. And if eating a healthy habit diet, and if you eat healthy and you are getting plenty of sleep, you are taking in fresh air, it will also help. And further, just for the precautionary measure, you should use a tissue or a handkerchief to stop viruses being shot into the air and infecting other people. Well, that's really important. Otherwise, the viruses can spread and really make other people sick just because of you. And that's really bad, isn't it? Now here comes influenza or flu. Influenza is caused by a virus, although it is a different virus from the one that causes colds, and even though some of the symptoms are similar. The flu virus enters the body through the eyes, nose, or mouth and travels down towards the lungs. And once the virus is in the windpipe, bronchi, and bronchioles, it keeps on multiplying. And the very first symptoms are runny nose, sore throat, cough, and fever. Body tries to overcome the virus, it releases substances to try to fight it, which results in muscle aching, weakness, and as there is no real cure for it, but you can get vaccines, and vaccinations are somehow good to create immunity or develop immunity in your body. So yes, it helps somehow. It prepare your body already against the particular. And as with cold, influenza makes you sneeze. Do you know why your body make you sneeze? Actually, it's your body's way of trying to get rid of the viruses that made you ill. And the average sneeze will spread over 1 lakh viruses up to 10 meters. Therefore, always use a tissue or handkerchief so that you don't infect everyone around you. And that is a very important one. Just look at a boy, he just sneezed, and there are so many viruses out in the environment. And what will they will do now? They will infect other people. So here comes the third respiratory disorder, that is asthma. So, do you know asthma is a condition in which your airways get narrow and swell and may produce extra mucus. And this can make breathing very difficult, and due to difficult breathing, it results in coughing and a whistling sound. A whistling sound is called wheezing. And one form of asthma treatment is to use an inhaler. And you can see in a picture, a boy is using an inhaler. Inhaler contains a drug that relaxes the muscles of. And you know what are the factors that can make your asthma condition more worse? It includes worry and stress. It can make asthma attack more worse. And some people get asthma from the dust or fumes as well. And one of the very important point about asthmatic condition is that it can be hereditary disorder. You can pass this order from you can get it from your parents, and you might pass it on the next generation. And it can also caused by the environmental factors. So both the DNA and the environment can result in asthma conditions as well. So finally, smoking tobacco. Some of the worst and avoidable diseases of the respiratory system results from smoking tobacco. Do you know that more than 300 chemicals in cigarette smoke, and they are addictive drugs like nicotine. And nicotine speeds up your heart rate because it causes the narrowing of your arteries. When your arteries are narrow, the blood passes through them with a high pressure, which causes high blood pressure. And the second dangerous chemical in smoking cigarettes is tar. It causes the thickening of lung lining, and which results in inability to take in sufficient oxygen. So tar contains chemicals that can cause lung cancer. It also contains poisonous gases like carbon dioxide. And the first effects of tobacco smoke are that the bronchioles get narrow and the ciliary lining, the air passages, stop breathing. And the smoke also makes the lining of the air passages produce more mucus. This collects in the bronchioles and causes smoker's cough. It also causes bronchitis, which is the inflammation of the breathing tubes. And the smoker's cough may eventually burst some of the weakened alveoli. And in time, the absorbing surface of the lungs is greatly reduced. That's why the smoker cannot oxygenate his blood properly. And the damaged alveoli and the effects of carbon monoxide can make the smoker breathless and exhausted. And this disease is known as emphysema. And you know about over 95% of the people are suffering from the bronchitis are smokers, and they have 20 times greater chances of dying from bronchitis than non-smokers. Non-smokers may get recovered, but there are very less chance that the smokers may get recovered from this disease. But if you're not smoker, you're still at risk from the nearby smoker that is known as smoking, that is known as passive smoking. That's why you know, if it has been shown that the repeated breathing in of smoke from a nearby smoker, it really affects your lungs, and it can cause damage to your health. So avoid the condition that if someone is smoking around you, just warn them, excuse them, or you might go from here. That's very important for your lungs. Okay, now let's jump in into dictation verse slide. So here are some important words that I have found a bit difficult for you, I guess. You can also underline the words you find difficult because you know much better. You can underline if you find any word difficult, just underline it so that you can understand while you are reading or while you are learning that these words are difficult for me and I need to memorize them more carefully. Okay, now let's repeat it with me. Anaerobic, lactic acid, trachea, energy, passages, capillaries, diaphragm, asthma, bronchiole, exhausting, exertion, viruses, vaccines, alveoli, cilia, oxygenate, tobacco, emphysema, intercostal muscle, inert, larynx, bronchus, vocal cords, respiration, cup. That's it. So these are some of the dictation words that I found a bit difficult, so that I have gathered them all and put it here. So here is the assignment. You need to learn and write these dictation words. Read Unit 2, page number 13 to 15. You can read from the start as well, just for your better understanding of each and every concept. And don't forget to highlight the important points while you are reading and learn by heart question number 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11 on page 15. And here are some important points just to summarize our discussion. And first of all, we have discussed about the respiratory diseases, that they are the conditions which affects the organs and tissues, and that makes the gas exchange really difficult. And there are various diseases of the respiratory system, which includes common cold, flu, influenza, asthma, and lung cancer. And finally, we have learned about smoking and its effect on human health. That is obviously bad effects. So I hope you enjoyed the lecture, you understand the points, and you will understand it more better if you will just go through the lecture yourself, and then you can uh, clear your concept more easily. Thank you so much for your attention. Keep attending the lecture like this, and I hope you will understand each and everything easily. Bye bye.